This is again one more learning from the Freshworks journey where we saw how we can de-risk a product while we're building it and not have to launch prematurely, because I think when you launch prematurely, you're not living up to the vision. The customer can't decipher that vision when the product isn't there yet. The good thing was within the first 2.5 months, we had 30 paying customers. And I think that set created a certain confidence in the team. It created confidence in our investors that, hey, we are onto something. So I think we actually had a lot of thought leadership content that came out of all of this as well, which was well documented, which turned into some great content that we could present at events over the last 2 years. Let's just say, hey, give you a shot at making a rap video for Rocketlane for our funding announcement. And the first version of lyrics he gave me, I was like, oh wow, if this is what you can do, we should turn it into something awesome. It's not a forte, but I think on this journey, I've learned so much about sales, and I've definitely been shameless in reaching out to folks, requesting for introductions, pushing a deal, across the line faster, chasing a customer. So I have become a sales guy, I would say.
Hi, this is Siddharth Aluwalia. Welcome to 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. Today I have with me Srikrishnan Ganesan, founder of Rocketlane. Rocketlane today is one of the hottest SaaS companies from India. To give a global perspective on the SaaS wave started in India around 25 years ago when the Zoho launched. Sridhar Vembu could never have imagined that today in 2023, Zoho would be a $1 billion SaaS revenue company from India with multiple products. Freshworks then followed the suit of Zoho. Today, Freshworks is more than 500 million in annual recurring revenues. And these two companies, both from Chennai, have built Chennai as the SaaS capital of India. The SaaS talent is the densest in the Chennai region in India. And global investors respect the way Chennai ecosystem has come up, and built India on the global map in SaaS. So Shri, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Siddhartha.
So Shri, we are sitting in a very monumental moment, like globally, right? If earlier Indian product companies were respected because of the product, today Indian companies are also respected because of the go-to-market strength the founders have built, right? And you are sitting here in Chennai, right? You are one of the most respected founders in SaaS today in India. So why Chennai?
Of course, I think every kind of product, you tend to build muscle in certain areas over a period of time. And every generation of companies from a region learns from the previous generation of product companies. In that sense, probably Chennai has had an advantage thanks to, the likes of Zoho, Freshworks, etc. being based out of here. In fact, a lot of, I would say, Chennai-based SaaS startups have founders who may be ex-Zoho, ex-Freshworks, etc. So for any startup, I guess there are many unknowns that we need to tackle with. But if you've been part of building a SaaS business before, the number of dimensions or domains where you have some expertise, some exposure, which helps you control variables in that side of things, increases. And that way, I guess we have some advantage because we've all built some SaaS business before. So we know some aspects of it. The amount of exploration we need to, figure out the rest of it is lesser.
So you're saying the talent density of SaaS in Chennai makes Chennai the SaaS capital, right? But more than that, is there anything else that why, SaaS companies? Now, what is happening is companies from Delhi, especially like all kind of startups, are moving to Bangalore. But I see Bangalore's SaaS founders moving to Chennai, or building their teams in Chennai.
Yeah, as I said, when you look at all the functions, right? I give you an example. When we started Rocketlane, the first few hires that we brought on, all of them have built SaaS products before. Our designer had successfully designed world-beating SaaS products in the past. Our initial engineering team, some of those team members had built scaled SaaS products before. And even among us as founders, all of us had experienced a journey before building and relaunching a product. In fact, 3 times before getting on this journey, which meant figuring out what are the asks that a typical customer of different sizes would have. Give me any SaaS product, I can probably tell you what the roadmap should be. And there is no, need to figure it out in a hard way. It's easier because you've done it before. And I think that's what the SaaS founders in Bangalore are also probably looking at, saying, hey, I know that I have a product that is going to be easy to sell. And I know there are people who have learned to sell simple SaaS products before. So let me hire people from that background. There is Freshworks, there is Chargebee. There are companies that have sales teams here. So you don't need to relearn from scratch. You don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to selling those kind of SaaS products. On the other hand, maybe if I had to sell to enterprise, I would look at, there's companies like Adobe and Whatfix and so on who are doing that well. So why go elsewhere? Figure out, who used to work over there in the past, who we can look at now as talent to hire, right? I think that's what's happening here.
Usually, you are a second-time founder, and you yourself say that you have launched 3 products before starting Rocketlane. What is the advantage that you got right during the journey of building the first product, Konotor, selling it to Freshworks, and then learning I would say 0 to 10 at Freshworks?
Right. I think some very clear lessons on what to do, what not to do emerged from that previous journey.
And what would they be? Would love to share with this audience.
Sure. I think when we started on the Konotor journey, we were actually looking at, hey, we want to build stuff that's not already out there, very new, evangelistic products. We didn't know how much of a challenge that would be, and sort of took on, I would say, too many variables in one go, right? Like we were figuring out what our product should do. We were convincing customers about, hey, here is why you need such a product. Trying to do that inception in their minds, right? Saying, hey, here's why you need a product like this. And hopefully they realize it and they come and buy. But the market itself was just maturing as well. Mobile apps were what we were focused on selling to. And while in India, for example, mobile apps were all the craze and everyone was building an app, the Western world, mobile was still like very, I would say, ignored part of, for at least for bigger companies, web dominated. I give you an example. I learned about this, Fortune 100 retailer. We wanted to pitch to them. And then once we realized that for them, web was the 13th biggest store, which means they had 12 physical stores that were bringing more money than web. And within web, mobile web was 1/5 the size. Rather, mobile was, I think, the 13th biggest. And within mobile web was 5 times the size of mobile app. And we were focused only on that app, right? So that became something insignificant for them. And if my whole value prop was around mobile, they weren't going to pick it up, at least in 2014, 2015, when I was trying to pitch it to them. Things will change along with time, but you can't be far ahead of your time from a market perspective. And you need to follow momentum. That was my biggest learning from the previous journey, because once we changed what we were doing in Freshworks, we relaunched the same product. We call it Freshchat, and it became for web and mobile, where we knew that companies like Intercom and Drift were growing really fast. And that's exactly what happened for Freshchat, right? We had like a 0 to 12 million journey in 2 years and 3 months. And it was amazing to see what momentum does for your team, for you, for everyone involved in the journey, how it pushed people to level up and grow in different ways. And that's what excited us about even doing one more startup journey, that experience of, launching a product which had that kind of momentum. So that was one lesson. I would say the second big thing was about, in the previous startup, we didn't do any marketing. And we saw what kind of marketing Freshworks was doing and understood the value of demand gen and, really how sales become so much easier when you bring the, interested prospect to you, right? And what that can do for the company, for the business. And so we focused a lot this time around on marketing. And I think a lot of SaaS founders have reached out about how we're doing our marketing. I think we still have a lot to learn, but we're doing some things really well.
I would love to understand from you, how you choose the domain for Rocketlane, because you have a infinite canvas to paint once you came out of Freshworks. right?
Right. So it wasn't like a straightforward choice. We did consider a lot of options around what we want to build next, because not like the idea came first and we said, okay, let's go build that. Rather, it was like, hey, we've had a great journey over here. We want to build one more. We want to take a new bunch of people with us on a, high momentum journey. So what do we build? And we explored a bunch of domains, but we also started talking to different kinds of stakeholders in these domains to understand, what areas are crowded, what are some emerging areas where we could have strong momentum. And one of the things that emerged as we spoke to more people is that there was this problem that had an interesting beachhead and a wide TAM as well, which was customer facing projects, right? When you look at Asana, Monday.com, Smartsheets, etc., we knew that 50% of the projects that run on them are actually client facing or customer facing projects run by agencies, run by implementation teams inside companies, consulting companies, system integrators, all kinds of businesses, services businesses, and services teams inside product companies as well. And that told us something about how big a TAM this was. And within that, there was a very interesting beachhead for us, which was implementation teams or onboarding teams inside product companies. That's a space we knew deeply, because I myself was overseeing a lot of our, mid-market and lower end of enterprise focused implementations at Freshworks. If I have to look back at the previous journey and say, what are the biggest pains you had? Definitely that initial implementation journey was something that was very broken, right? The first partnership that the customer was experiencing with you, and it was exactly the moment where we stopped being customer centric. There were, siloed experiences, siloed conversations happening across tools. There wasn't the right visibility for the customer and for our team. We were not on the same page very often. My team member would say, hey, implementation is going great. Customer would send me an escalation email. So I precisely knew this was a pain point. Talked to a bunch of founders, talked to a bunch of customer success heads, implementation heads, talked to investors as well, because we wanted to ensure that this time in our journey, we pick a problem that is high priority for the business itself. And one of the themes that emerged was, for companies that do usage-based billing, they were actually making money only if their customer implemented and went live with them successfully.
Yeah.
B, if you're selling to enterprise, there was a huge lag between your contracted or booked revenue and your live ARR. And that was a board level conversation. That's what made us think, hey, if this is a high priority and high visibility problem, people want to solve it, let's attack that first.
So you defined the problem really well. You saw a large market and an unserved market, because it was essentially getting solved on Excel sheets and Asana.
That's right.
At that point in time, like 2 years ago. So your distribution and marketing muscle is really talked about in the industry, right? Your 0 to 1 journey is really famous, that you went from 0 to like 1 million ARR within 12 months of launching. Tell us about the activities you did pre-launch.
First thing I would say is we took a while to launch. We did not launch an MVP. When we launched, it was already a full featured product. This is again one more learning from the Freshworks journey, where we saw how we can de-risk a product while we're building it and not have to launch prematurely. Because I think when you launch prematurely, you're not living up to the vision. The customer can't decipher that vision when the product isn't there yet. So we wanted to avoid that problem. In fact, we had to write a nice note to all our investors as well, saying, hey, I know you're eager to see us launch, but that's not the approach we're taking. So I had time on my hands. I was talking to a lot of customers. My co-founders are building the product. I was showing the product early stages to people. We didn't have design partners, but we had a lot of interested parties who were giving us feedback and inputs.
How did you find them? That's the important thing.
Sure. Like cold outreach on different pretexts, right? So 9 months before we launched the product, we launched a community for customer onboarding and implementation professionals. It's called Preflight. If anyone's interested, do take a look at preflight.cx. So the community meant a lot of people were joining in there who could have been valuable people for us to pick their brains. And so we started those conversations with some of them, not all of them. We didn't want it to be like the community is about us. It was about them.
Yeah.
But if they were interested, if they seem to be passionate about the problem, sure, we want to learn more about how they're doing their work today. Show us what spreadsheets you're using, what macros you've built, what not. And once you've done that, if you're open to it, we can also show you what direction we're going, and we'd love your feedback.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of that. We probably spoke to 70, 80 companies in that period. And we also built deep domain expertise through the community, right? We were hosting 2 events a month in the community.
In India or US?
Across.
Offline, online?
It was an online community on Slack. And we used to hold these events on Zoom. And we used to have people attending from all over the globe. Initially, it was India speakers who were from our network in some way. But as we started showcasing, hey, here's the caliber of people who are coming and talking over here, we started getting more people from across the globe who were interested in sharing. We just call this implementation stories. Just about, hey, here's what I did over the last 12 months to level up on how we're doing our onboarding. And the next part to that was we also ran a podcast. So again, the podcast was launched a few months before we launched the product. So we built a lot of relationships. We built a lot of credibility. We built an audience for what we were doing before we launched the product. Those were some preparatory things we did. This also helped our marketing team understand what are the pains, what are the goals and challenges of these team members. How do we write the right copy on our website to appeal to this audience? So we had a lot of learning from all of this. And when we did our product hunt launch, which was, we tried some interesting things over there as well around launch, right? So we said, let's time our funding announcement and product hunt launch on the same day.
Okay.
So we waited basically a year to do our funding announcement. On the launch day of the product, we did that announcement, did the PH launch, and we got to number 1 on product hunt. We got I think 250 signups that day, which we were struggling to fulfill or cater to in the next 2.5 months, because we didn't have a sales team yet, right? So we had 1 person who had joined us to do sales. It was me and 2 other team members who were on the go-to-market side, who were essentially taking all these customer demos. And the good thing was, within the first 2.5 months, we had 30 paying customers. And I think that set the, created a certain confidence in the team. It created confidence in our investors that, hey, we are onto something. And especially for me and my co-founders, we have experienced lack of PMF, what happens when you're stuck versus what it feels like when you're able to sell fast and move fast. So that difference was very clear. And that gave us a lot of confidence to go out and do more.
So how many customer conversations you had in those 9 months before the launch? Unique customer conversations?
Probably over 100. I don't think I counted it. I didn't set up a CRM at that time. We were on Notion. So I have a long list on Notion, maybe 120 companies over there.
And you reach out to them cold on LinkedIn or email, right?
Correct.
What works in that, right?
I think the best thing was actually warm connects by others in our network. So we were careful about picking angels during our initial journey. 2 things we did. 1, of course, there were people who helped us on our previous journey. So we gave them some space. So, other founders who helped us, or operators who helped us, we made some space for them. But other than that, we were very, very picky about who we included on the cap table. We wanted people who can help amplify what we're saying or make amazing connections for us with customers, be a domain expert who can, help us on direction we need to go. So we're careful in picking those people. And I think that also helped us. Some of them made amazing introductions, which may not have helped in initial traction, but it definitely helped in validating what we were building, definitely helped in getting those conversations going.
So you were basically spending almost all of your time figuring out who the customers were, reaching out to them, and having conversations. And you had a junior sales guy along with you. That's it for the first 9 months.
Absolutely. And the 9 months before launch, we didn't have the sales guy. We had one marketing lead who had joined us, and we were doing like all these, outreach. I was getting on a lot of the calls. Everything was recorded so that the whole team can watch every recording, every conversation with the customer. How are they reacting? Not customer, who are like prospect or expert. So we got a lot of intel through that, and we were doing all these events and podcasts, etc. I was just building domain expertise, writing blogs on the side, not necessarily publishing them, but the meat of the content. So I think we actually had a lot of thought leadership content that came out of all of this as well, which was well documented, which turned into some great content that we could present at events over the last 2 years. So at launch, I would say in the first year, we had 3 amazing pieces of thought leadership that we brought out in the space. And that was all thanks to talking to so many people.
Got it. So all this go-to-market activities that you did, right, not only helped you with the first set of 30 customers within the 2.5 months of launch, but also helped you sharpen the pitch of the product, sharpen the messaging on the website, and made your marketing team stronger when they reached out to prospects.
Absolutely. It made us look like experts in the space, not just a company building software.
I think that's important. When customers speak to you, they review about you on your website or any other. You already had a community where customers could hang out and get a feel of the community right before they could even go for a trial. This trial also means the customer is putting some investment in a trial.
Absolutely. So we have a mix of SMB and mid-market customers. Yeah. And often with an SMB customer on a call, me and folks on our team can actually give them real tips about, hey, these small things can help you with how you're doing your onboarding. And that expertise came from all of the content we built over a period of time.
Got it.
Hi everyone. Before we begin, I would like to share that this podcast is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amit Somani, Shripati Acharya and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category-defining tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare and education, such as MyGate, Quizzes, Planet Spark, Bolt and Clip. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in.
So why do founders, right, especially in SaaS, ignore the GTM a lot? Like the GTM is taken secondary, and they think that once we build a really great product, then we can start reaching out to the customers through an outbound motion, and then over the period of time, then inbound will build. And this never works.
Yeah, I think there is somewhat of a founder market or founder GTM motion fit as well. And for a lot of people, I mean, to be honest, probably the easier path is to say, hey, let me build that clear ICP and reach out to specific people, and it should work even that way, right? It's not like you won't have that initial traction that way. It may be slower, but you're going to attract exactly the kind of, or you're going to chase exactly the kind of customer you want. But I wanted to make it easier for all of us. Yeah. So I said, hey, if I do the hard work up front and I'm ready to do it this time, I know last time we did not, this is a feeling of I did not do justice to our product last time.
Yeah.
And this time I want to do justice.
So it was a vengeance of 6 years.
Yeah. Actually, one of our lead investors, Vikram from Matrix, he's actually a batchmate of mine from postgrad. And the only thing he told me when we were like, we were just partnered up, he was like, hey, last time you didn't do much marketing, man. Hopefully this time you'll fix that. And I thought it came from a genuine place. It wasn't like VC Gyan. It was actually like, hey, he means it. It comes from a very good place, and it will make a difference for us. Mm-hmm. So maybe over-indexed a little on marketing, but I think it's been, valuable. It's been super useful for us.
How tough was it for you to raise your first round?
Well, in reality, we were just getting out of Freshworks.
Yeah.
Even before we announced to our team, VCs had reached out.
Okay.
It's slightly easier this time, I would say. The only complication that happened was COVID.
Okay.
So in Jan, when we had VCs reaching out to us, we were saying, hey, wait, we are not yet ready. We want to first sort of take a break, think about what we want to do. We have some thoughts, but it's not finalized. We'll come to you.
Yeah.
And then in March, we also changed our tune because we saw there's uncertainty, right? And we didn't want to wait for things to go really south and then figure out that we can't raise money or something like that. So we said, hey, okay, now we're ready. Let's talk. We are validating what we want to do, but we want to find partners quickly.
Sure.
And luckily enough, there were quite a few people who were in touch with us, and some of them were willing to partner on the journey quickly. Some of them actually had cold feet around what was happening in the economy at that time, right? This was like March 2020. Things were just going south. Understandably, people wanted to wait and watch where things settle. But luckily, we closed the round quickly.
You would remember the month that you closed in 2020?
We signed term sheet in April.
Okay.
The money hit the bank in June.
Wow. Pretty fast.
Yeah.
Considering the macro was like really unstable at that point.
Correct. I think we were still in a phase where an ex-Freshworks team had a premium.
Yeah.
We were lucky that way. We had a good exit before.
Yeah.
We had good reputation. I'd been a volunteer with SaaS Bhumi. A lot of founders knew me. So if there were ref checks going around, we would have had people who have said good things about us.
So Rocketlane is thought to be a category creator, right? So there are two pieces, right, where you place a SaaS tool or a product in. One is category creator, which is very difficult to build, and the other is 10x better product, right? So tell us about your thought process. Why did you choose to be, in the first bucket, and how has the journey been like?
This is probably one thing we did not want to do initially because of the previous journey's experience. But when it came to this problem, in our mind, the wider TAM was, hey, we are 10x better for customer-facing projects than regular project management tools. So we felt there is an established type of product that people are buying, and we are just innovating on top of it to create what is a 5x or 10x better experience for certain kinds of companies. And so it's not a huge leap. There is some budget that can be repurposed. Maybe we charge a premium on top of what Asana or Monday would charge, but we're not entirely going after a brand new budget. We were for smaller companies, which were running on spreadsheets, for example. But the value is high. Every founder in an early stage values looking good in front of their customer. They want to look more mature. If you want to sell to an enterprise and you're going with a spreadsheet, that's not going to inspire confidence in the partnership itself. So I think that message resonated with early stage companies, and they also started buying. But in our mind, yes, there is a category, client onboarding, that's getting established. There was one other player already in the space who had some amount of traction, but that only made us believe in it more. That, hey, okay, someone has some traction, which means we could also enter the market and hopefully take the lead before it's too late. And we have an advantage of building from India, which means we can build more product per dollar raised, and we can build it faster with like a larger product team. And we had a very experienced product team. So I think we were able to do a great job with product. And, I did read a book about category creation by Anthony Canada before in the first month in April. One of the things I first did was, okay, what are things we need to do if we have to successfully create a category? Anthony Canada was the former CMO of Gainsight. So they had actually done it very successfully. So a lot of things we did were actually from that playbook.
So Shri, you invested in a brand building a lot upfront. A lot of founders, like first-time founders, don't have resources to do that. And you guys had raised like a 3 million round and then an 18 mil round. I think within 1 year of that, would you have been able to invest so much without, let's say, raising funds if that was an option?
Probably not, right? I think honestly, this venture, we've sort of taken a long view on a lot of things. And so we needed to have partners who support that long view. Hence, I think the kind of fundraisers we did are important for the kind of journey we are on. You can still do. I think the community, for example, did not take much money to create
Or your podcast.
or the website itself, which so at launch, the things we had done weren't necessarily things that took up a lot of money.
Yeah.
Community, we had like a intern helping us run initially.
Yeah.
Even the website was built by my co-founder and our product designer. They sort of sat together and figured out like how to build a world-class website. And when people came on the site, they were already telling us, hey, this looks like a company that's at least, been around for 2+ years. And we always wanted that, where the brand and, we come across as someone who's been there for longer, come across as more mature than where we were in the journey at every point. So that's like an intentional thing.
And why did your funding announcement with the rap video?
Oh yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah. Our Series A was a nice, 18 million round. And obviously we've seen like videos being made for different kinds of announcements. We've all seen like some form of a cringe music video from a startup in the past. We hired this person on our team who used to be like doing his own gig, but freelancing, making some rap videos, etc. That was a passion for him. And we thought, let's see what comes out of it. Let's just say, hey, give you a shot at making a rap video for Rocketlane for our funding announcement. And the first version of lyrics he gave me, I was like, oh wow, if this is what you can do, we should turn it into something awesome. It was all done on a $200 budget.
Wow.
All in-house. I think we did bring in someone to shoot, but that was only cost, right? Other than that, everything was...
The artist was also in full-time employed.
Correct. I don't know if we can ever replicate that. I would say it was like a chance thing that it came out as well as it did. The lyrics were amazing. Everyone enjoys it. Everyone tells us specifically that, hey, this could have been a cringe video, but it wasn't. It was a classy, amazing rap song that you guys made. And I think, yeah, now that it came out well, it looks like a master stroke, but it could have gone either way.
That was, I think, one of the fantastic investments in building a brand. And SaaS companies don't do it. Like it was a consumer company would do it. Right.
I think where we actually invested, I would say, is in bringing on creative people on the team, right? So this guy, we brought him on as a content writer, but also told him, hey, video, something you seem to be good at, so let's also make more stuff in video. We brought on very early a creative lead with like a multidisciplinary design experience who had made some amazing videos in the past for other companies. So video is a skill, and we brought him on board earlier than a lot of companies would have. Of course, I think the funding helped us say, hey, we are going to bring on someone for video, someone for illustrations, etc. early in the journey. But I think I like this message. There's a startup that does this. It's called Audience Plus. Every company is also trying to be a media company in a way. And I strongly believe that if you want to capture an audience's attention, you need to behave like a media company in a lot of ways. You need to create amazing content for that community. And often that means investing in video. And I've gotten comfortable at, making a lot of videos myself over the last few years. I've like done tens of videos, whether it's like appearing on podcasts or making our own like thought leadership content, being at events, all of that. And I think it served us well to invest in this direction.
Got it. And you seem to be more like a quiet person, right? So I believe sales doesn't come natural to you. Would you say that?
It's not a forte, but I think on this journey, I've learned so much about sales, and I've definitely been shameless in reaching out to folks, requesting for introductions, pushing a deal, across the line faster, chasing a customer. So I have become a sales guy, I would say.
Can you tell us like what you learned in this journey and what can you share with other founders?
Sure. I think one of the important things we did very early on was very intense pipeline review meetings on a very regular basis. Like 2 times a week, we had this discipline of going through every single deal with a problem-solving mindset. It wasn't about saying, hey, what actions did you do? Why did you not touch this for 2 weeks, etc. It was more about where are we stuck? How can we get unstuck? So that problem solving mindset, I think, helped us learn a lot about what we need to do to revive every deal, not move anything to closed lost at all, and just keep at it with new ways to solve problems and bring about fast changes in how we were doing things. And I think the early team had that ability to learn and try things differently, quickly, which truly helped us. I think that biggest learning for me will be intensity of reviewing things and making quick calls on how we want to like revive things, making adjustments on the fly, and bringing in deals, right? Like creating that momentum early on. I think that was super important for us to all feel that, hey, we know we can do this, we know we can win deals, and pushing our team, pushing our customers. We created a lot of urgency in different ways, right? For example, urgency wouldn't be only about saying, hey, we have a discount if you close this month. We also created urgency by saying, hey, we are very close to a great milestone as a team. It'll be great if you can confirm your purchase this month instead of next. And customers understand. So they cooperated, and we were able to bring in more deals within a period of time by communicating our urgency with our customers. We also made a lot of them feel more invested in us, right? Like a lot of our early customers care about our success, and they will make other introductions for us. They love the product. They will send us like notes about what's working well for them, screenshots of how they got praised for, something that was done on Rocketlane. That's been valuable for us to further show as proof of success to other customers to bring them in. Secondly, we put ourselves out there quite a bit. We did a lot of events. We started showing up at virtual events while the pandemic was on, and as soon as in-life events were happening again, in-person events, we were there. We were there at SaaStr in 2021 and in 2022. We were there at Pulse last year 2 times. So we know that as part of creating this category and putting ourselves in front of companies, it's important to do these events, show our thought leadership, build our network the right way. Never miss any opportunity to showcase what you're doing, right? And we've reached out to so many people who are influencers in customer success, who now know and think highly of our product and are able to recommend us to others. And that's the other important thing, I feel like, not missing out on any opportunity. A lot of our deals actually came from VCs making intros to their portfolio.
Okay.
Because we made an impression on them. So take every opportunity to make a good impression, and then be shameless with your asks. And that helps in augmenting pipeline early, and success breeds success. So I think that's sort of been our mantra.
Can you tell us, right? You shared some of the steps on your demand gen engine. You shared a community pre-flight. You shared a podcast you shared, the brand investments like the rapid you did in brand building, now at events. What are the other steps that you did in your demand gen engine?
We did start spending on marketing early, like on
LinkedIn
keywords,
ads.
Search keywords to start with. We tried some LinkedIn as well. I don't think, we were experts at any of it early on. We're getting better at those things now with, hiring people who can manage those things. But we started spending some money on it from early, right? We used to send $10,000 a month from August 2021 itself. So just like a couple of months into having the product live. Because creating multiple engines of growth is something we feel is important in the journey. And we need to, of course, measure and see what works, what doesn't. But we felt it was very important to experiment with different channels and figure out what is going to work for us. So we started spending money on those experiments. Even if we get 2 customers from spending $10,000, it's going to make up for that money spent. And cost of servicing a customer in SaaS anyway is pretty low. So we did pursue different advertising. Actually, we had customers who told us they found us through Instagram as well.
Okay.
Till date, I don't know.
SaaS company advertising on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know what ads we were running, but we've tried different things, and some things work for different kinds of audiences. So, of course, retargeting, etc. must do's.
Yeah.
But that's another area where we invested. We started trying outbound very early. I wouldn't say we were very successful at it early on. And I think, you need multiple people trying it for someone to crack that formula. And realized it later. I think now it's starting to work for us. But yeah, overall, it was a lot of hustle plus putting ourselves out there in different ways. And G2 is another investment. I would say we did push our customers hard to give us those ratings on and reviews on G2. And we didn't want to, spread thin across all the review platforms. We focused on one. And I think we were able to build a good presence there and establish our leadership, right? It's not enough if you have the best product. The world needs to see it that way. And we wanted to make sure that we do what it takes to come across that way as well.
Good. And right now at this moment, right, it's very phenomenal globally for all the SaaS companies, especially, right? ChatGPT, Generative-AI has taken the industry by storm. Right? Today, Microsoft with its partnership with ChatGPT is seen as a leader, in everything in Generative-AI. Google trying to catch up, failed at the first attempt of launching Bard, right, and lost $100 billion of net worth in one day. Right?
Wow.
Other companies also, trying to see what they can do in Generative-AI, because I've not seen so much excitement around the technology, especially from the enterprise side. There has been excitement from, the consumer side of tech, but from the enterprise side of tech, never seen such excitement. What are your thoughts?
I think it's very interesting, and I think it's going to make all of our jobs more easier / interesting as well. For example, one of the other things I've been doing personally is there were 52 weeks in a row where I was actually posting one onboarding tip every week.
Yeah.
And I still continue to post something about our space every now and then. Recently came across a tool where if I do a voice recording, it would turn that into, here is a LinkedIn post, here is a tweet.
Which one?
Thread. I don't remember the name, unfortunately. I can look it up and share it with you later, and you can share it with people. It also gives you a blog, the same content converted for different formats, like a Quora answer, a blog, blah, blah. Yes, it still makes some mistakes, but at least, it's done a bunch of the work, the formatting, the emoji usage, everything it's figured out, right? And that was cool. I think my effort that goes into making that post every week is going to be reduced if I use a tool like that. Likewise, we're doing some analysis. We want to understand pros and cons of a decision. Maybe ChatGPT can reveal dimensions along which we should be thinking about it, like querying and figuring it out from online sources. So I think there's a lot that's going to become, at least our approach to solving problems or creating content and so on is going to change. Write a poem about Rocketlane, and there was a beautiful poem that came out.
Maybe it can also produce a video, right? Or rap video.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, actually, I saw Gan.ai did a rap video. The video was made using their own software, which again uses generative AI. And the rap song was, of course, sung by our content marketer. But yeah, I think it's going to make a big difference for all of us. Even in our product, there are avenues where we can use like AI and tools like ChatGPT. We're doing small POCs today, but yeah, there is potential.
So sitting in almost the beginning of 2023, global SaaS multiples have been the lowest, I think, in the last 10 years or so, because there was a lot of free money flowing, right? And SaaS was a good space both for public and private investors. How do you see this turning up? You raised at a very right point in time, so you don't need money for a long period. But for the other founders who are about to raise right now, Zoom trading at 5x multiple.
Things are going to work a certain way. I don't think the craziness we saw in 2021 is something we should expect and wait to see if that happens again. Rather, come to terms with reality that, okay, if we are at a certain multiple today, at max, maybe if things are very bullish, maybe it goes to 2x of the current, kind of multiples people are seeing. So we should rationalize a little bit and come to terms with what's happening and not wait for, a day when we assume things will go back to 100x and so on.
Do you see, right, it's going to improve, like so what is happening is growth stage SaaS is getting multiples of 10 to 15x. But let's say Snowflake is trading at max of 15 to 20x of this multiple. So these kind of valuations are creeping down into growth stage private investing for SaaS.
Makes sense actually, right? I mean, ultimately, everyone who's investing needs to see
an exit.
an exit return on what they've done.
Yeah.
So I think the public market valuations is what you need to go by. And of course, if you're in an earlier stage and you're able to see that, hey, I'm here this year, next year I will be at a certain place based on how I've been growing and I know I can get there. Yes, you get a premium on that multiple today, but don't expect it at every stage. And yeah, very early stage, take a good multiple, but be realistic about what's going to happen next and work backwards in terms of where you need to go. So yeah, I mean, I've spoken to lots of investors over the last year, and I think, of course, it bodes well with investors that things have come to where it is.
Yeah.
But we need to accept that things were out of whack before and deal with it now.
So you sell to early and mid-stage SaaS companies, and these kind of companies are themselves suffering. Do you see a slow in demand for Rocketlane or companies like Rocketlane who are serving these kind of customers?
I think for small companies, our price point is low enough that if they're still in business and they want to grow, they should invest in a tool like us. So I don't see a slowdown from a SMB side. There may be slower decision making in mid-market for us, and we need to counter that. We have some tactics we're trying out as we speak to ensure that the larger deals don't stall for too long, but the value is still there, right? And we're able to showcase the value. We are able to have that ROI conversation. We just need to figure out how to have it with the right people so that like the CFO is understanding the value and not cutting the budget that they need for a tool like us. And on the other hand, actually 20% of our customers are not SaaS. We have services companies also using us. And that is the segment we would want to focus on and grow as well, because I think they're not, dependent on the funding ups and downs. They are often like, they may not thrive and grow the way a SaaS startup could, but they're going to exist, they're going to grow. So yeah, they continue living and we can make a huge difference in their lives.
Thank you so much, Shrey. It's been wonderful having a conversation with you. And, all the best to Rocketlane to continue the momentum and the flag that you are torching ahead for the India SaaS.
Thank you so much, Siddhartha.